This episode is brought to you by Neo Books and Coffee. Neo Books and Coffee is an independent bookshop and coffee bar housing a wide collection of both English and Arabic books, and a coffee bar that serves and sells the finest quality coffee beans and exquisite teas. Hi there, this is Wafa Al-Abaidat. You're listening to the Women Power Podcast, a subsidiary platform to the Women Power Summit, the largest event in MENA, with the aim of empowering women and helping them achieve their absolute highest potential. Each week on the Women Power Podcast, you will hear honest, vulnerable, authentic, real conversations from inspiring women. These women will share their experiences and stories into what it takes to build a successful business and career. The podcast will share insight and inspiration and hopefully inspire action and lead change. Rana Alamuddin is a Lebanese American actress best known for her role on The Young and the Restless and Sex and the City. Rana is also the founder of Baini wa Bainak, an online platform that aims to provide a safe environment for women in the Arab world to share personal stories without judgment. Welcome, Rana. I wanted to first start by saying, how have you been during this crazy time since March? What has been like the lowest point for you and how did you recover?
Okay, so there is the lowest point and then there is the amazing high of it too. I'll say the lowest point is when my husband wasn't with us for 4.5 months and I had to do the homeschooling with both kids every day. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That was bad. I had anxiety. I was eating tons of sugar and like junk food. I was miserable. It was really, really hard. For me, that's when I realized that a family needs to be together and you can't parent on your own.
Yeah, where was he stuck?
In Saudi.
Did you enjoy a part of it though? Or were you like, no, like you need him around you?
The only nice part was after I put the kids to bed, I had that quiet space for me at night to get my work done. But besides that, no. It was extremely hard. I'm in heaven since he got back.
I saw those pictures. It looked so nice. You were like, welcome, here, take the kids.
I got a photographer. When he called me in the morning. He's like, I'm coming. I got the papers. I'm coming. I called a photographer that I love working with, Talha, and I'm like, are you free like around 1 p.m.? Like you need to come before he gets here. And we made it happen because I wanted to archive that moment because I knew it was kind of a historic moment that we would look back towards. No, it was so great to have him back. And I was joking with him, like, I don't know if I should tell you, sweetheart, like, do we need to go to a hotel alone? Or I'll go to a hotel alone and you take care of the kids. Have a great summer.
It's so hard, I think, just to be a mom. We were just talking about it. It's just tough. I can't imagine what homeschooling is like as well and just dealing with two. And I feel like your kids are very hyper. I've seen them pop into your screen sometimes when you do things. So they're always like, mama, like they're just very energetic. They're not like shy kids. They're just, like we want to be on the screen. We want screen time.
For me, motherhood, honestly, is the hardest job I've ever done. And I always say it with so much love. I think there's so much stigma and so much pressure for women to try to show that they're these happy-go-lucky moms, that it's so effortless, that it's so easy, that you're radiant, that you have a baby and you look good and your body's nice and you're fashionable and you're working and you're making money and you're making nice food and healthy food and you have date nights with your husband and you've got it all under control. And I think there's so much pressure and it's so important to demystify this pressure and say that it is complicated and it's messy and some days you feel like you're winning and some days you feel like you're losing and many days you feel like you're failing. And I think it's okay to say that and to forgive ourselves and to forgive each other as mothers because the pressure is unbearable. And now you have social media on top of it where you're supposed to look fabulous and have the nicest stroller and the nicest clothes and the nicest twinning. So I think really it's important to say it is the hardest role to play, especially that we weren't designed to parent on our own. We were designed to really have a tribe, to have a village, to have a whole infrastructure to support us.
Rana, in Hollywood, what made you want to go to Hollywood? Why was that a dream of yours to be an actress?
So I have two answers. I have the politically correct one and I have the inner work, personal growth answer. The superficial answer is it was a dream. I always wanted to perform. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to express myself. And my story at the time was I want to be the first international Arab movie star so I can show the West what an Arab woman is against all those stereotypes, right? Of the oppressed woman or the veiled woman or the, all these very demeaning stereotypes. And I wanted to show them that we were so much more. And there was a big part of that. There was truth to that. But the true underlying reason, now I can tell, with distance, is that I just wanted to be loved so bad. I wanted to be recognized so badly. I wanted to be applauded so badly. I wanted people to be impressed by me so badly because I wanted my dad to be so proud of me, and he was strict and he had very high standards and he had the highest standards for me and I had the highest standards for myself. So somewhere in my subconscious, in that deep, dark part of me, I thought, okay, Hollywood is as high a bar as possible as an actress, and that's what I'm going to go for. And when I make it, I'm going to get the validation that I've been longing for. I'm going to get the love that I've been longing for. And it's only in retrospect that I'm able to say that. But I think all actors, somewhere, somehow, they want to be seen and heard. They want to be validated.
How much work did you do to figure all of this out? I'm sure that it took you a while to connect the dots.
I've been doing deep inner work, I want to say, since I was 25. When I first moved to LA, when I moved to Hollywood. So I think that when you decide to break outside of the mold, it's like cutting the umbilical cord, leaving my country, leaving my family, telling my society, I'm going to be an actress in Hollywood, which was so scandalous. Going to work, going to do this, that's when you start finding yourself. And I think that that's when your healing journey begins, is when you start working on discovering who you are. Who am I outside of all these molds and expectations? Who am I?
What was the hardest part about working? And I mean, it sounds so glamorous, I'm sure, when we say it, like, oh, I wanted to try. It's both a cliche, but there's a beautiful drama to it that you went there to become an actress. What did you learn about yourself in this process, and did you fail?
Oh my God, I learned so much about myself. I learned that freedom and authenticity are my core values in life, and that if I'm not free and authentic with myself, first and foremost, there's no point of me living. I discovered that I had many demons that I needed to heal. The anxiety showed up, the insecurities showed up, the fear of failure showed up. The lack of trust, that I was supported by the universe, that I always thought that I had to push to succeed. I kind of carried my dad's story. My dad was born in a family of landowners who moved from their lands and went to Beirut to give them the best education. And by giving their boys the best education in the city, they had to work very small jobs and be very poor. And my dad grew up in a very poor environment where he had to work as a child, and he had to push so much to succeed. And he's a self-made man. He was, Allah yarhamu, a self-made man. And so he taught me that you have to suffer to succeed. And he taught me that you have to hustle and fight. And I carried on his story, and I took it with me to Hollywood and to everything I went on to do. Is I have to suffer to make it. I have to really work hard. It has to hurt to get success, to get glory. And so that was something that I had to really unpack with time, of like, yes, you work hard, yes, all of that, but life doesn't have to be a struggle. Things can also come with ease. It's okay to love yourself for who you are now and not who you want to become or who you think you should ideally become. So there was so much inner work. I'm so grateful. My acting journey in Hollywood, more than really an acting journey, it was like therapy. It was the strongest form of therapy I've ever undergone.
Do you feel like things come to you easily now? Or they come with ease? Do you find that are you suffering in any way, or is it perfectly easy now?
I would be the biggest liar, and anybody would be the biggest liar telling you that everything is perfectly easy and they don't suffer. I suffer. I'm very fortunate that I've worked so much on myself that things flow more. I'm very much more aware. I'm very conscious. I catch myself so much quicker. So if I'm caught up in fear or anxiety or insecurity, I can go to my room for a few minutes, or I can go and sit and meditate for a few minutes and recalibrate my nervous system, recalibrate my awareness, set intentions. I'm very fortunate that I can do that. But I have fears every day, and they're pretty much the same. Still, fear of failing, fear of not being good enough, fear of people not liking what I have to offer or not clicking with what I have to offer, fear of not being impactful the way I want to be. So my fears are always the same. And I think that it's very important to understand that the human brain is wired for fear. And that's what most people don't understand, especially with this whole new age thing of be fearless. There's no such thing. We are hardwired in our brain to be afraid because our brain's job is to keep us alive. So for survival, you need to have fear or you would jump off a cliff. A wild animal, in the forest would run at you and you'd be like, oh, bring it on. No, fear is healthy because it keeps us safe from harm. And the whole divine challenge of being a human, an aware, a conscious human, is being able to transcend that and master your mind and be aware, be conscious. I think that's the whole game.
Do you find that appearing in the second Sex and the City, was that the highlight of your Hollywood career? Like, how did that happen?
That was so much fun. It was definitely one of the highlights. It was one of the top highlights. How did it happen? Interestingly, again, if I hadn't hustled, I probably wouldn't have got it. Because I was such a hustler, because I was so ambitious, I was so committed to making it as an actress in Hollywood, because not only did I want to make it to prove it to myself, I had to prove my entire family and my society that I didn't go there just to be a loser. Like, I had to show them that I was going to make things happen. You'll see. I was on a mission. So I was really on top of my game. I mean, almost too much. Now when I look back, I'm like, you could have just chilled out a bit more, Rana, and had more fun. It's okay. Like, what's the big deal? Anyway, you left. You didn't want to be there anymore eventually. So you might... Anyway, but I think everything happens for the right reasons. But I had subscribed to this thing where I would have access to casting that only usually casting directors and producers and directors had access to. They were called the breakdowns. Actors weren't allowed to have access to that. But I would pay under the table. I would pay a friend of a manager, to send me the breakdowns. And every day I would go through all the listings of who was casting what, because I wanted to have extra control over my career. And one day, as I'm scrolling down, I see Sex and the City 2. I'm like, oh my God, what are they casting? Arab woman, elegant Middle Eastern woman. Now, they had said 30s, 40s. It was a bit older. But I'm like, I can pretend to be 40. I don't care. I'm like, this is it. This is meant to be for me. This is for me. I contacted my agent. I said, I heard from a friend that they're casting this. They said they're not auditioning in LA. They're only auditioning in London and New York. Send in, email your video. Film your audition at home, send it, and we'll see what happens. I'm like, okay. My husband filmed me. I did my scene. I did it with so much joy. I felt so connected. I just felt the role was mine, to be honest with you. There was an inner knowing, when you feel something is aligned. It's not cockiness or anything. It's really, I just felt it was aligned. I shot it. I sent it. Just a few weeks later, I get a call from my manager saying, they cast you. Off of the email, off of the video. They saw hundreds and hundreds of actresses in New York and in London, but they want you. And later on, when I met Michael Patrick King, the director, he told me that as soon as I lifted the veil off my face, I was wearing a burqa and then I had the face veil. As soon as I lifted the veil off my face, he said, we knew that it was just aligned. It was meant to be. It was a highlight in my career, in my life, because I was a hardcore Sex and the City fan. I watched every single episode of every single season multiple times. I got my husband also hooked on it and my family members. I even got my dad to watch one of the steamiest scenes and he liked it. He's like, it's a little osé for me, but I like it. This is great. I was a huge fan. So for me to meet these women and the creators, Darren Star and Michael Patrick and Sarah Jessica, Kim, all of them, it was a dream come true. It was magic. It was magical. It was a magical experience where you got to see what it looks like when people are doing something out of sheer love and creativity and passion and vision, not because it's work, not because it's a job.
When did you let your Hollywood dream go? Do you remember the moment it happened when you're like, I don't think this is for me, or I don't want this anymore?
It's a very good question. I want to say that it was gradual in a way. Obviously, I should have seen the panic attacks and the anxiety as a sign that there was something off. But because I was so perseverant and I so badly wanted to keep going, I had a very specific goal. I need to become a movie star. So there was nothing I was almost standing in my own way because I was like, no, I don't care what happens to you. Panic attack, get over it. You're feeling miserable? Not my problem. We have a goal here, sister. Go. So I really worked like that. But seriously, like the self-talk was pretty brutal. And it's only with time that I realized how harsh I was with myself. But I didn't know any better, and it's okay. That's how you learn and that's how you grow. So at first, and I always describe it as my experience in Hollywood was a dream come true. But in the dream, there was a nightmare. It's like a dream, but with a nightmare in the middle. When I started feeling so scared and anxious about every audition, it's like as I moved up the ladder, the anxiety started growing. When it was like kind of light and fun and easy and the stakes were low, I was fine. As soon as the stakes got high, of like big directors, big stars wanted me for stuff, big agencies, when it started getting big and high stakes, that's when I started freaking out. I think that's when my insecurities all came to the surface and my fear of failure. So I would start having anxiety for every audition. I would freak out. I had to be perfect. I'm like, oh my God, my nails are not perfect. Am I skinny enough? Am I pretty enough? My hair, my face, my makeup. And I would rehearse like crazy the scenes, and I would try to control the scenes until they were perfect. My husband, I feel so bad for my husband. Like he had to be with me through all this craziness and rehearse with me and tell me it's okay. And I would go to auditions and then have like a panic attack in the car, call my sister, tell her I think I'm going to die. She's like, no, you're having a panic attack. I didn't know what a panic attack was. Yeah. I thought all I knew is my heart was racing like crazy. And I thought my chest was going to burst open and my heart was going to leap out and I couldn't breathe. She's like, you're having a panic attack. I'm like, no, I'm going to die. She's like, you're going to have, it's just a panic attack. So it had to be all that anxiety where I had like these amazing managers and all these amazing opportunities. Like Adam Sandler wanted me in his movie. This director, I auditioned for stuff. And as you may know, Hollywood is highly competitive. Most actors never get to book anything. They're waiters for the rest of all their life. I was very fortunate to get breaks, to be, a series regular on The Young and the Restless, and to do CSI Miami, Sex and the City. I did other shows. I was very fortunate. Commercials. I shot commercials. One of the commercials sustained me for a full year. Commercials over there, like national commercials, you could live off shooting one commercial for an entire year. That's how much money you make. So there was amazing opportunities, but I think somewhere there was a mismatch between my dream and my self-worth. I just, somewhere deep down inside, I didn't think I deserved it, or I was worth it, or I could do it, or that I was enough. That's one interpretation of it. The other interpretation is it wasn't my life purpose. And I only understood that later. Now, I have a new manager in LA. She begs me to do auditions. Another perspective to see this, of why it didn't work out in Hollywood, is because it wasn't my life purpose to be a Hollywood actress. And it's only later in retrospect that I realize it, because now I have a new manager in LA, in Hollywood. She has to beg me to do auditions. I'm not even interested. I found my life purpose, and it's not being a Hollywood actress. I couldn't care less about being a Hollywood actress. I love what I did, and I'm so grateful. But my life purpose now is with what I do with Beini Ubeinik, is supporting women, helping women, creating a safe space for women. That's my life purpose. So I think it's also important for people to see, and I just kind of use my story as an example of sometimes things don't work out because they're not of the highest good for you. They're not your life purpose. They're not your path. It's not what you're supposed to be doing. And it took me a very long time to have, kids and a postpartum depression and a 4-year chronic depression. So many things had to go wrong for me to realize how right all of it was.
When did you discover what your personal mission was? Your mission flows out of you like water. There's a real flow about it, but also, it feels so natural when you create your content. I feel like it comes, like you said, there is a flow. I don't want to say it comes easily, but yeah, there is alignment. So when did you realize I'm here to help empower women or support women or build these safe spaces, digital, physical, whatever form it is? What questions did you ask yourself to get to that point? Or did you work with a mentor or a coach?
No, I was my own mentor, and obviously divine guidance, because I really believe in divine guidance. I only discovered it when I did it. Sometimes you only know by taking action. It's only when I created the platform and then the women started gathering and the momentum started gathering and they started sharing their stories and how they felt and how it was helping them or supporting them that I understood. Before that, no. That's why you have to get your hands dirty. What happens is we're so afraid of failure that we don't take action. We never try because we're so afraid of failing. And I think that's the biggest failure. I had no idea what I was doing, in the sense that I had created a pilot episode for a series. I never thought of an online platform. I created it in kind of like an old school way. I was pitching TVs, like TV stations. I was pitching all these different TV stations because I'm a TV host, and that was like 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. I was pitching TV stations and considering streaming too, like seriously. And then people would tell me, but you should open an Instagram account. I'm like, really? But I'm not a social media person. It's not my thing. They're like, no, you should. I'm like, okay. It was like, okay. So when I did it, and then it organically just kind of evolved, that's when I realized, oh, okay, now I get it. So yeah, I think it's the women that made me realize it. It's the love that I put in, when I got it back 100-folds, and I saw their own stories and their own beauty and their own magic and their own power. I'm like, okay, now I understand. Now I understand everything. Now I understand why I had all the anxiety and I had to leave Hollywood. Now I understand why I went to Saudi Arabia and I had to be locked up at home for 4 years. Not locked up in the sense, but meaning that I was, pregnant, 2 kids back to back, breastfeeding, diapers, with the babies, little mobility at the time, women couldn't drive. And it was just a very, very kind of, I don't want to say static, very simple. I had to be still. It was a lifestyle that told me, stay still, because that's the only way you're going to unpeel that ego of yours.
Between Hollywood and Saudi, when did Baini Ubainik, where did the name come from and the idea?
It was one night, I was in my bed, super depressed, because after I had my first baby, I had postpartum depression, and then we left Hollywood, we moved to Saudi when she was 6 months old, so I had already postpartum, and then with the big life changes of me going from career woman to at-home mom and wife, from Hollywood to this very new environment, the postpartum depression became just a full-blown chronic depression. And I had my second child, I was also depressed. So it was like lots of hormonal stuff going on, right? So it was like the postpartum turned into chronic depression. And then on top of that, I got pregnant with my second child while I was breastfeeding my first. And it was just like a whole hormonal cocktail of like, it was, but that's what I needed. Because you need a tornado to break down something so strong as an ego. My ego was strong. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. It was also great. I had an armor. I was so like determined. I'm going to do this, and ambitious, and I'm this and I'm that, and this is my identity, and I'm fierce and I'm confident, and this is how I look, and this is how I. It was just so much strength coming on my end that life had to throw something stronger. It really had to throw something stronger at me for me to start dissolving all these blocks. So it was one night where I was super depressed. I had suicidal thoughts several times during that time, which is so sad. But it's important to know that even if you're a mother to 2 beautiful kids and you have a wonderful husband and your life is good, even if it's not perfect, your life is good. You can still have a chemical imbalance or hormonal imbalance, or just a lot of be very depressed and disappointed with yourself enough to have suicidal ideation. And I remember thinking, I must be not the only woman who feels like this. I'm like, there must be other women feeling the way I feel, feeling lost, feeling lonely, feeling disappointed with themselves, feeling like they don't know who they are anymore. Like, I want to create something, a show where I can have conversations, honest, real conversations with women about their journeys and be able to talk about this without shame or judgment or guilt. And that's how Baini Ubainik was born.
So you were saying there must be women out there feeling the same way you're feeling, which is...
I was laying in my bed feeling so down, so disappointed with myself. I thought there must be other women who feel the same, who feel lost, who feel depressed, who feel disappointed with themselves, who feel like they failed, who don't know who they are anymore. Because my feeling was, I don't know who I am anymore. I had lost my identity. And there were times where I would pick up the laptop and Google, I don't know who I am anymore, enter. Symptoms of bipolar disorder, enter. And I would read all the symptoms. I'm like, oh my God, I'm bipolar. And I would call my sister in New York. She's a PhD. And I would say, Dayan, I have bipolar. She's like, no, you don't. I'm like, yes, all the symptoms, I have them. She's like, you went through a major life transition. You lost your identity. You're not bipolar. That loss of identity is what shook me. I didn't know who I was, because in my mind, and that's again ego, right? Ego identification is thinking that you are all these labels or exterior things. Because in my mind, I was like, I'm an actress, I'm attractive, I'm thin, I work, I make my own money, I'm confident, I'm free, I wear nice things, I go out, I do this, I do that. This is who I am. All of a sudden, I was an at-home wife and mom with babies. I didn't think I was attractive or thin or pretty. Where was my career? No longer. I wasn't making money on my own. All of those things that defined me were gone. So I didn't know who I was. And so life had to really, really bring me down for me to start to shatter my ego and to wake up to, okay, oh, there's a better version of me coming up. Oh, that version wasn't like the best of. I thought that was like the climax of me existing. I didn't know that wasn't. There was a better version, a more authentic, more real, more mature, more wise, more grounded, more humble version coming up. So the depression really was there to break me so that I can open to something new.
And the name Baini wa Bainak, you said that you got it when you were in bed in the middle of the night. Did it just kind of come to you? Did you do some research?
Zero research. It's completely intuitive. So you want to, you can call it, it came from my higher self, from my intuition, divine guidance. It's all one and the same, I believe, really. I think that when something is aligned and meant to be, it manifests. And not only that, I had to be still to hear. Because remember, when we're busy all the time, we can't receive. When you're constantly doing, you can't receive inspiration, guidance. And I had to really be still, because I literally was still. There was nowhere to go. All I could do was just like breastfeed, change diapers, play with the babies, cook a curry, put a baby to bed. It was quiet compared to how my life was. And that's when I was able to hear, I think, the guidance. And that's how Baini wa Bainak came absolutely seamlessly. It just kind of like popped out of me.
Neo Books and Coffee is a proud sponsor of the Women Power podcast. You can browse their incredible, beautifully curated book selection, build your wish list, and request out-of-stock and unlisted titles with the Neo Books and Coffee app, which is available to download on the Apple and Google Play Store. How do we create moments of stillness in a world? I mean, right now, obviously, with COVID, we were forced to sit still, and everyone's demons probably came out, and it's like a replica of your experience and just, dealing with all this noise and then the stillness. But, things are picking up, things are opening up again. So my question to you is, if you have kids and a business, or you have a thriving career and you're trying to go see your in-laws and you're trying to buy gifts for your friends and you're trying to groom yourself to make sure you look good for your meeting on Sunday, when are you meant to find time to sit still? Like, how does that look like?
Well, I meditate. So for me, meditation is a huge part of my life. And I've been meditating on and off. I had been meditating on and off, I want to say since 2007. But I started meditating consistently 3 years ago. I started doing transcendental meditation every day. And that changed my life, because that stillness is what quiets your mind and opens you up to receiving. So definitely meditation, huge on my list. But I also want to say saying no is huge. And women do not say no enough. Because you want to say yes to the in-laws, and yes to this, and yes to that, and yes to going out with your girlfriends, and yes to doing this, and yes to all these activities with your kids. Yes, 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 yes. But all the yeses get in the way of you doing what you're supposed to do, or get in the way of your flow. I think that lack of flow is too many yeses. And more no's creates flow. So for me, I've learned how to say no. And sometimes you have to say no to things that are cool, by the way. Sometimes you have to say no to opportunities that sound good, like a cool podcast that's being offered to you, or a cool collaboration, or like a fun dinner, or whatever it is. I say no all the time, because I know that that's the only way I can stay grounded and centered and aligned and do what is meant to unfold, and not just cram my space with doing. I want less doing, more being, and more receiving guidance.
I'm super guilty of saying yes, but what troubles me with saying no is I've built my whole career on saying yes. I've accelerated my network. I have accelerated my revenue. I have learned more because I failed more, because I've done more. So the volume of things have been a gift to a certain extent. So my question is, how do I rewire myself to start saying no when life has shown me that saying yes gets you to where you want to go, or gets you to be successful, whatever that means to the person.
I so get it. I have to tell you that for me, it wasn't a conscious decision until my health started breaking down. So I think that every person then will have a wake-up call. I was absolutely that way. Yes to everything. My children were... I didn't work for years. I was at home with the kids. I was totally focused on them. Although my plan when I had my first child was to only take 1 year off, tops 2. I ended up taking like 4 or 5, which was a bit too long for me. But then I started shooting films, and I would travel to film festivals, and I would go shoot films and all of that. And it was great until I started getting sick. I started getting adrenal dysfunction. So my body told me, you have to slow down, because then it wasn't worthwhile anymore. The quality of my daily life wasn't worth it anymore. So I think that you know when to change, when you have to, or when you get a sign in your life. When I started seeing that I was exhausted, that I couldn't sometimes get out of bed, I was feeling ill. That's when I'm like, okay, it's not working for me anymore. It's not sustainable, and I'm not happy that way. So at first I thought that being stressed out all day was a sign of ambition and fierceness. I loved being stressed out. It was like, I felt like a winner. Having such a full schedule and being busy all the time, this whole obsession with busyness, made me feel like I was successful. And I remember driving next to cafes like Earth Cafe in LA, and on a Tuesday afternoon, and I'd see people sipping their their vegan lattes. And I'm like, you losers, who has time? I'm like going from one audition to the next. I have meetings, I have this, you little losers. What are you doing with your life? I was like looking at them in a condescending way. Like, I'm the one who has all this, I'm doing all of this, and you guys are doing nothing with your life. But then it became unsustainable. And I needed less doing and more being. And then I saw also it did affect my life, because I was doing a lot of things, but I wasn't doing them at my best, meaning that I was being kind of mediocre at everything, or if not, I was being pretty good at everything, but at the expense of my health, which was going to be unsustainable for me, for my children, for my husband. So I think it's a wake-up call, and each person is different, but some kind of wake-up call that shows you like, okay, it's time to do things differently. And I want to talk also about something, which is we ambitious alpha females. I'm an alpha woman, right? The ambitious women, we carry a lot of masculine energy. And I want to talk about that. All humans have both, right? So all humans have masculine energy and feminine. And for us, ambitious women who want to prove and who want to succeed and who want to make an impact tend to drive and push very much with our masculine energy, which is ambition, aggression, focus, perseverance, achievement, go-getter, make things happen, which is wonderful, and you need that. But the feminine energy is more receptive, more that goes with the flow, more chilled, playful, sensual, there's more like wonder in it, nurturing. Ambitious women, sometimes we tend to sacrifice a lot of our feminine energy for our masculine energy. And it's being too much in my masculine that drove me sick. And it's when I started getting more into a balance of being more in my feminine energy, which is more self-care, more gentleness with myself, more slowing down, doing a bit less. I'm still very equally busy, between brackets. I have so much going on, but my perspective is much healthier, and my perception of time and how much I need to do, I think, is just more balanced. I still have a way to go, but it's more balanced than being completely in my masculine energy.
When do we know we're hitting our limits? When they're so different, like we push, crash. Maybe we go really slow, we still crash. Like, how do we know when to stop or avoid a pitfall?
Crash is the first sign of unsustainability, because we're not supposed to crash. We're not supposed to. We're supposed to flow more. It's supposed to be sustainable. We're not supposed to crash. That's the thing. I think the crash is the biggest sign that we've overdone it. And at first, you can get away with it for years. I used to peak and crash like all ambitious, hardcore women. We all peak and crash. But your body, with time, and as you mature and as you age, between brackets, and you have children and you have your hormones change, your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. So when you're in your 30s, you bounce back not the way you used to in your 20s, and as you move forward. So I think it's really the female body starts speaking to us. The more we start crashing, it's like my naturopath, she told me it's like a rubber band. Your body, or like your hormonal system, is like a rubber band. You can, pull it to the back and then it will snap back. pull it really, really far, and then you let it will snap back into its shape. But if you take that elastic band and you keep pulling it and stretching it over its capacity, at one point, the elastic will stay very loose. It won't go back to its initial shape. And that's what happens with our endocrine system as women. Then you have thyroid issues, you have adrenal burnout, you have ovarian cysts, you have all these things. Your blood sugar levels start playing a number on you, and then it affects all your receptors, so your feel-good hormones, your serotonin, your dopamine, your adrenaline, like all of it starts going out of whack. I found myself in a place where my hormones were a mess because of the stress, because of the pressure I was putting on myself. So I think the first sign is when you start seeing the crashes and you start looking at the quality of your day. So like you look at your checklist, your to-do list, because I was all about to-do lists. And I still have a tendency, I love ticking stuff off my schedule. But I would look at the end of the day like, okay, I ticked all the boxes, but do I feel good? So do I feel good? Do I feel excited? Do I feel rested? Do I feel rejuvenated? Do I feel excited? So if I don't feel the way I want to feel, why am I working in such a frenetic way? So I think that's also we need to see. You are achieving, yes, but at the expense of what? Do you feel serenity? Do you feel this is how you want to live your daily life? And another thing that also had an impact on me is when I once read something that said, it's Louise Hay, she said, how you start your day is how you live your day. And how you live your day is how you live your life. And then I thought, wait a second, how I live my day? That was like a few years back. I'm like, I live it like super stressed out from one task to the next, from one ambition to the next. Is that how my life is going to be? Oh my God. And that's when I'm like, no, there's something wrong with how I live my day, because I wouldn't wish my entire life to be so charged.
So I want to go back to, by the way, I'm totally resonating with everything you're saying. Like, this is like a chapter from my life, and I'm sure other women feel the same way. The pitfalls of being someone who wants to achieve so much and has like extreme stress because of it, and it's all stress that's like given to ourselves. My question back, like just going back to Benu Benik. So let's say you got this idea, the name came to you, it felt natural and good. You went around to pitch this to TV stations to turn this into, I'm guessing, a talk show or some sort of TV show. And then you pivoted and launched it online on social media, and I guess through a website, most likely. Are you designing everything? Are you the person that's the creative behind it? Are you working with different designers? And did you invest in this platform?
Very good question. So I was very fortunate that I found people on my path that wanted to support and be part of this larger vision, and nobody gets paid. No, we don't have investors. I didn't put in money. We're working for free. There's our producer and social media strategist, Mohammed Absat, and Christy Basile, our designer and artistic director. So we work out of passion, out of love, out of purpose, out of mission. Yeah. Honestly, I think that it was just meant to be. Without Mohammed and Christy, I wouldn't have been able to do this the way I did it. It would have been impossible without my team. I'm so grateful for them. And it wasn't hard to convince them. They were in on it from the very beginning. They were psyched. I think that when something is aligned, it just works out. And here, and I want to say it's very important, and it's almost counterintuitive, especially for ambitious people. It's very hard to understand because it was hard to understand for me. Working on yourself as a human and as a soul and as a spirit and as an energetic being helps you with your ambitions. I used to think that it was all about doing, pushing that would get me results. It got me results, but at a price that became unbearable to pay. Then when I understood that if I work on my health and well-being, if I work on my energy, if I work on my mindset, if I work on these invisible things that we might think, oh, I don't have time to do because I'm so busy hustling, but working and investing in these things are what are going to give me the clarity to work in a more purposeful and aligned and efficient way. So that instead of working, 50 hours a week, I can work 20 and be more impactful or productive in a way, not in quantity, I want to say, but more in quality or purpose. And I think that's something I discovered while working on Benu Benik. And I'm not going to say it's easy. It's taken a toll on my health because I work a lot. I give of my soul, and I'm the face of Benu Benik, and I'm also the concepts and ideas. Of course, Mohammed comes up with concepts, Christy comes up with concepts, but I'm constantly fueling the ideas, and I'm the face of it. So I give of my heart and of my face, of my presence. And it takes a toll on me, and I don't make any money out of it. I lose money. But I'm doing it because I know that this is the right path, and it's been paying off in ways that surmount the money, and the money will come. We will be monetizing in many ways in the near future. But right now, this is not the goal. The goal is really this organic unfolding of this safe space for women from all over the Arab world to feel they have a space where they can be themselves and express themselves and relate to without fear of judgment, fear and guilt and shame.
So I do love talking about money because I don't feel we talk about it enough. And I also really want people to feel inspired to take their ideas just like you and figure out, okay, how can I make a living here? Because, you need to make a living to be able to keep doing the things that you love to do, but also we want you to keep feeling great and about what you're doing. And that means you need the funds to survive and to eat and to go out and to treat yourself. Having financial reward directly affects your community. How are you surviving off of this right now? Are you doing any coaching with these amazing women?
Yeah, I'm a one-on-one facilitator, so that's how I make my money. Thankfully, I have that. Yeah, absolutely. I do one-on-one sessions with women. Before COVID, I would travel. I would do speaking engagements, healing sessions, one-on-ones. So that's my way to sustain myself financially. So I'm very fortunate that I have that.
In a wonderful way, it ties in back to what you're doing as well. It's all interconnected, because I don't want to say you're marketing yourself, because I know that there's a deep purpose there. You're doing it because you love it, but also you're attracting the right people who need you as well, and they need your time and your energy and your healing powers as well. So it just feels like it's all interconnected.
Absolutely. I think that service and passion can intertwine beautifully, or serving and being served. That's the best ingredient. It's the best marriage. So when you're serving people and you're being served, I love what I do, and I know it's helping people, and I get rewarded. And I think a lot of women feel like it's either you're doing something you don't like and you're making money, or you're doing something you love but you don't get anything in return. I think we have abundance a little bit upside down. That the abundance is really the cycle where you're giving out of joy. There's a lot of joy and impact, and you're benefiting. It's like a win-win situation. And I feel like right now it feels so, it's flowing. When I was in LA, it wasn't flowing. I would make so much money. And then even as an actor, you make so much money and then you don't work for a year. And so I would make so much money and I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to put a down payment on a house. And then you're not working for a year and you have to spend all the money. It's a lot of ups and downs, and just energetically it was out of match. And I talk a lot about energy, and I think for many people it might sound abstract, but for me over the years with all the work that I've done, and because I also work with energy, I work with energy healing and I do shamanic body work. I work with these modalities. So I know firsthand that we are energetic beings. We are vibrational beings. And it might sound out there for certain people, but the unbelievable thing is, as an ambitious woman who cares to make impact and to create things that are tangible in the world, I see that the more I focus on the intangible and work on clearing my energy, my mindset, doing the deep inner work, it's affecting so much more tremendously my material world.
How much learning do you do? I mean, you are talking about so many different types of healing and energy. It sounds wonderful, but how much studying do you do? And I'm sure you enjoy it, so it doesn't feel like it's like homework. You learn, when you're curious about something and you learn, it gives you energy as well. But let's say in your week, how much time do you spend online or reading or on podcasts, listening to experts talk about these subject matters?
I'm a major nerd, and maybe I don't look like one, or I don't sound like. I'm pretty sure I sound like one. I am such a nerd. I love to read, and I love to discover, and I love to learn, and I love to take notes. And I was always in class, the first kid in the first row, gobbling up what the teacher was saying and taking notes. I just have this wonder and curiosity. I'll say that yes, I do study quite a bit. Some of what I do, I study and I read, and now I'm studying also to become a certified hypnotherapist. So hypnotherapy is also another thing that I'm crazy about. I tried it on myself to see if it worked so I could add it as a tool for my clients. And it's amazing. It's about rewiring your subconscious mind, and it's fascinating, and it very, very efficient, super result oriented. It works. So this is something I'm studying. It's going to, hopefully by 2020, end of 2021, or I'll be a certified hypnotherapist. So that's something that I'm delving into as well. I'll be honest with you. I trade dinners and parties for growth. I trade Netflix binges for growth. I prefer to grow spiritually and on a personal development part, and in the work that I do. That's where, so my family and my impact in the world for me, and I say it with a lot of humility, it sounds big, impact in the world, but the impact in my community, in my sphere, for me, are my priority. So the sense of fulfillment that I get from doing the work that I do is so much bigger than a dinner or a party. And I'm not saying that I love to have fun, and I am a very fun person, and I have my wild side and everything. But true fulfillment doesn't lie in certain things. I've learned how to say no to things that don't bring me fulfillment on a soul level.
Who is your perfect passenger? So, the person, can you describe the perfect person who loves and appreciates your content? What do they all have in common? Maybe they're a client, maybe they're not, but I'm sure that there is some sort of thread that ties them all together. Are they all lost? Are they all trying to find their way? Are they all, do they want to feel like safe? Do they come to your space, or they come to you specifically to be themselves? Like, what is the common thread between your Bainik army?
No, I like Army of Love. It's definitely, it's funny because I call my guides, like my divine guides, I call, God, and my divine guides, I call them my Army of Love. But I would say that they're women that either want to wake up or are waking up to their potential as women. They all have that in common. It's women who are waking up, who want to wake up, who feel there's a calling, there's a nudge within them of like, wait a second, I am more than what I was told. Wait a second, there's more to me and my soul and my life and my journey than this limited reality I'm being offered. I think I would say that that's really the common denominator, because the women we have on our platform are so varied. We have, we have like 52,000 women from all parts of the Arab world, from different social strata and educational levels and values. And we have women from super conservative places who are, very, very modest. And then we have feminists that are outrageously feminist. And that's the beautiful thing, is we all have something in common. And this platform taught me so many things, and it even broke down my own. Maybe I still had some kind of preconceived ideas about certain women, and I saw how much we have in common in our differences. And it's a beautiful thing. And the women who are part of this community, I think, understand that sisterhood is everything, and that we don't have, and I always talk about that we don't have to agree, but I think it's that search for finding ourselves, discovering ourselves, and finding our place as women in our lives and in our society that brings us together, and wanting to wake up to who we are. I think it's really waking up to who you are and owning it.
I love that. And I also believe that we are all trying to be more authentic, and watching you be authentic every day, and trying to be I'm sure sometimes we get caught up in our ego, and then we have to keep coming back. So that, I think you're such a wonderful reminder to all of us that we can be true to ourselves and we'll be okay. Nothing bad is going to happen. I want to talk about your fashion, because I am I don't want to say I'm modest, but when I look at what you're wearing, like you wear bold colors, you're mixing different prints, I'm just like, what? Like, I feel like you're not following a fashion trend. You are wearing what makes sense and is comfortable to you. You wear these chunky, accessories, and they're very much a part of, I don't even know, like if it's even strategic, but I just feel like you're very bold and courageous. And what I want to know is, fashion something you think about when we see you every day, or is it just, do you wear what you like?
So for me, how I present myself with my clothes and my accessories and my makeup or my hair or my nails or whatever is an extension of who I am. I honestly, there's nothing strategic about it. I don't think in terms of strategy, and I don't try to definitely not bold, and I don't think I'm bold. That's why it's always funny when somebody not funny, but when somebody tells me you're so bold and then vulnerable. So that I want to, because you told me that vulnerable, and I wanted to kind of tie it together. I see it as just, I'm being myself. I see it as authenticity. So when somebody tells me, oh my God, you're so brave, I'm like, I don't know if I'm brave, but I'm being authentic. And when somebody tells me, oh, but how do you have you're so vulnerable? I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I'm authentic. So when I'm authentic, I share all my different facets, and one of them is vulnerability, but the other one is power, the other one is this, the other one is that. So for me, authenticity is at the core of everything I do. But honestly, my fashion sense, it's just I wear what I like, when I like, and that's it. And I'm not a big fashionista. I don't spend a lot of money on clothes or accessories. There's no diamonds in my rings. It's like super, super like regular. It's nothing crazy. I just dress the way I feel. And I've never put any thought into like, is this a problem or not? It's when I started having, some people would comment of like, oh, it's not modest, or oh, it's daring. This I started not second guessing myself, but then those voices would creep in my mind like, no, Rana, maybe you should change that sports bra. I love crop tops. I love a sports bra. I love to have my skin under the sun. Like, I'm very comfortable with wearing very skimpy stuff. I love it. It feels, for me, it feels very comfortable and natural to me. I love accessories. I have big hands. I don't know what to tell you. Honestly, there's nothing overthought about the way I dress, so that's why it's funny for me to see somebody's perspective, and it's very interesting. But it's just really me being me. That's it.
Like I said, I feel like possibly a lot of us, or a lot of your community, are living their lives through you, because I think, I think we do live in a conservative society, and we're taught at a very young age to think about what people will think, and our parents and our uncles and our cousins and the neighbor, and then it's really hard to be you when there's all this accountability that's being said that you reflect your husband, you reflect your father. So then, or sometimes you have a business. Like, a lot of the times my biggest struggle is, I'm having a bad day, I want to express myself, but then I'm like, I have a company, I have CEOs following me, I have ministers following me. Do I want to be outrageous or say something or wear something? Because then, would that affect my business? I employ 33 people, it will. So then all of a sudden I wear my mask, and then I'm like, there's no space out there for that part of me. So I'm just gonna box it in. And sometimes I talk about it with my husband, and he was like, you're always yourself. I'm like, no, I'm really not myself. Like, I'm super choreographed, but because, I just don't want it to impact my business, because that's something I protect with all my heart. And recently I put a post on Instagram that I closed one of my companies, or it was a concept store. I got people till today calling me like, you closed your companies? And I'm just like, no, I just closed a concept store. It's fine. But it was so blown up, and I'm so used to being, like, my message is always like, I have my shit together, I'm organized, I'm responsible. So then I was like, why did I post that? Like, I shouldn't have posted that. Now people think I actually like, now maybe. And it didn't really affect anything. We were still getting sales calls in my agency, but still it made me panic. Like, I should just stay in my lane. Well, if I stay in your lane, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about showing the sides that it's going to affect your business, or it's going to affect people around you, that we have so much pressure. And I want to say something. I really believe in heart-centered businesses, and I really believe in heart-centered leadership. And I think that women were showing the way. There's another way to do business, I think. There's a more human and humane and authentic way to also do business. And it's going to take us time here in the Arab world to catch up with the Gwyneth Paltrows, right? Who's like CEO of Goop, and she posts naked selfies of her on her, like, she gets to do whatever she wants. She gets to model, and she gets to be in her bikini, and she gets to do silly stuff, and she gets to be a CEO. And for me, when I look at that, and I think that this is amazing, this shows you that the whole spectrum of what it is to be a woman, and the whole spectrum that you can be an entrepreneur and a CEO and this and that, and a money-making woman and ambitious, but still get to be not frivolous, but still enjoy the more light aspects of life, to still feel beautiful in your body, and to still be able to have fun. I think we're allowed that. And that's why I talk about on my platform, we call it, I say that it's a platform for the multifaceted Arab woman on a journey to self-realize, because we're multifaceted. And I think we should be, and each one needs to find her way of showing her different facets that you're not just this. Now you're a mother, so you're an entrepreneur, you're a businesswoman, you're a wife, you're a mother, but you're also a person with feelings. You're also a person that's doing her personal growth journey. And maybe you can find ways in your business, like for me, I think that implementing meditation, you can, once you start having maybe a meditation practice, if you don't have one, you can get your team to also have a mindfulness practice. You can bring in mindfulness into your office, into your work culture. Then it can be also on your Instagram page. Like there are ways to start showing our multifacetedness and showing that it's okay to bring in our different facets into our business by you working with it on your own, and then you bring it into your work culture or your team. And I think that's the only way as we women are going to start bringing these values in. It's like for me, there are many times where I thought, okay, Rana, by you dressing like this, you might scare off certain conservative girls that are going to go, oh, no, I can't follow her anymore because look at what she says, look at what she thinks, look at what she believes in. And half her tits are showing. And I have to make the conscious decision of, do I bend myself, do I twist myself like a pretzel to be somebody I'm not so I can keep a certain audience, or do I open up to losing a chunk of an audience for me to embody my truth and my message? And I will always choose authenticity. Although I am a very diplomatic person, my father was an ambassador, I was raised in a diplomatic family, I know how to be diplomatic, and I know how I'm very inclusive in my platform. We have so many different women, and they're all as valuable as each other, all of them. They're just all magic to me, and I adore them and respect them so much, all of them. And at the end of the day, the choice will always be for me to be my authentic self, because I think that I wouldn't be of service by trying to forge my image or be somebody I'm not, or make compromises that really affect my integrity and how I feel every day. I have to feel good. I really believe in feeling good, that when you feel good, you do better work and you serve better.
We're very proud to announce our collaboration with a brand that we strongly resonate with and are huge fans of. The Woman Power podcast will be sponsored by Neo Books and Coffee for our upcoming season 4. Neo Books and Coffee is an independent bookshop and coffee bar housing a wide collection of both English and Arabic books, stationery, and gifts. Their coffee bar serves and sells quality teas from tea pigs and only the finest Arabica beans. They also have a coffee app available on both iOS and Android devices. The Woman Power podcast is delighted to be working with our new partners and look forward to producing more meaningful content and recognizing our goals together. Watch the space for more exciting details. Oprah says that when we are not our authentic selves, we are betraying ourselves. We're just cheating on ourselves, which is so powerful when I first heard it. So if somebody was listening to this and is like, Rana, I'm struggling to be authentic, I'm struggling to be my real self, what is your advice? Like, what can we start doing today where we can get closer to achieving that?
I think there's many tools. I love to I do breath work every day, meditation, and setting intentions. So I would say start carving out time just for you. Maybe half an hour a day, 20 minutes a day, where you sit alone in a space uninterrupted. You do some breath work. Maybe you can just sit for 5 minutes. You can just begin at first, and even maybe 20 minutes may be daunting. If I say 20 minutes, for me, it's nothing, but maybe it's just 5 minutes a day. Even start with 3. I would, make it like even simple. 3 minutes where you sit in a comfortable space with your back straight. Just focus on your breathing. You just focus on your inhale and your exhale. If you're inhaling for 4, exhale for 6. Make the exhale a little bit longer. Your thoughts are going to come into your head. Any thoughts of, I need to do this, I have this meeting, I have to call this person, I have to go get the groceries, whatever thought comes into your head, acknowledge I have a thought, let it go, and get back to your breathing. So I would get to breathing, meditation, setting intentions. I think it's so important to set intentions. People wake up and throw themselves in their day without even thinking of what they're doing. Intention is huge. So if somebody wants to be authentic, they have to set the intention of, my intention for today is to listen to myself a bit more, So you set the intention is to slow down a little, do one thing that I love. So when you start cultivating this time of stillness, of listening to yourself, of setting an intention for your day, that through practice and consistency will lead you to you starting to understand more what it is for you to be authentic. But there is no such thing as I have reached authenticity without the work of being still and listening to yourself, allowing yourself to be. Then there's so many tools, plus the meditation, and then I also pray every day in an unconventional way. I ask for guidance. I ask for signs from the universe. I have a specific way of working, but I also I believe in self-forgiveness, to really sit and do an exercise where you actually forgive yourself, because a lot of our blockages of not being able to be authentic is because we have resentments against ourselves for things we did or we didn't do. And we're holding all this guilt on our backs. And they're like, it's as if you had a backpack filled with bricks. They're constantly pulling you backwards, constantly taking you back. So there are all these little things. Journaling also I believe in, is to take a journal and write. Stream of consciousness, just put 5 minutes on your phone, a timer, just write without thinking, just let your pen write, let your soul kind of fall on the sheet. So all these little things I really believe in start getting you into that habit. And I want to insist on the habit part, and the ritual part is consistency is key. It's like when you go to the gym, you don't go to the gym once a month and expect to have an amazing body. You go to the gym several times a week, right? Same thing for personal development. It's a muscle you cultivate, you build every day.
How would you first describe Beni Bainik? I know I'm a bit late in the game, but I feel like everyone would describe it differently. So from I don't want to say business model perspective, but from a model perspective.
Let me tell you, it's right now, where we're at right now is it's a platform, it's a digital platform for the multifaceted Arab woman on a journey to self-realize. And the content that we're giving our audience is just, like nuggets of women's empowerment, nuggets of personal development, inspiration, campaigns where we engage communities from all over the Arab world in our Ulili B'Albik hashtag share your truth campaigns, bringing awareness by bringing other women also to speak on the platform. Obviously art, design. The vision for the platform as we expand is really going towards very larger lifestyle brand. So the vision for video programs and merchandising, and there's so much, a podcast, all things that are centered around supporting women in their journey of self-discovery and working on themselves inside and out. That's the Beni Bainik women.
It's such a big responsibility what you have now that I think about it, because people are just revealing crazy, like super secretive things that maybe they don't tell anybody, but they're sharing with you. They're sharing it on your platform, and you share some of these stories anonymously. Have you made a mistake so far? Because I know you're testing things and you're putting things out there, but have you done something and you're like, ooh, and like, does that make sense? Or
it makes sense. It's a very valid question. I'm fortunate that, first of all, it's all consent. It's all about consent. If they want to be I always give them the option. You want to be anonymous or you want to be mentioned and tagged. If they say, I want to be mentioned and tagged, they're mentioned and tagged. If they want to be anonymous, it's completely respected, and they are absolutely anonymous. So it's always free will, free choice. There are no minors. We're never posting anything about minors content. It's all adult women who say, I want to be tagged, or I want to be mentioned, or I don't want to. So we've never had an issue. I personally answer all the messages. There's nobody from the team that goes and reads and accesses their messages. So it's really me. That's why I have so many DMs that I have to get back to, and it's becoming very difficult. But because it's a safe space and it's really my personal interaction with them, I answer the messages. I'll voice note them sometimes. I'll tell them, email me if it's really important, they need help. They need help. But sometimes, I get some hardcore pictures of women being, beat up, women cutting themselves, suicidal women, asking for help, asking for guidance, asking for reassurance. It is a big responsibility, and I feel very responsible. And yes, it is a big responsibility, because I want to make sure that I give them what they need and I can support them. But so far, I have to say, I feel very fortunate. We haven't had any issues. The women that are coming out with their stories want to come out, and the ones that want to be anonymous are being anonymous, and we haven't had any issues with that.
Which segment moved you the most? And then maybe what segment surprised you the most that it moved other people?
It's a very good question. I have to say that there's been so much response on all the topics I want to say. I can't think of a topic where there hasn't been a response. The one about motherhood on Mother's Day, when I posted a video that for Mother's Day, I didn't want to sugarcoat anything, that I was going to be super blunt. That one was people responded to a lot because mothers needed somebody to say how hard it is and how imperfect it is. About the ones about depression also. Anything that has to do with women feeling like I'm speaking on their behalf when it comes to being limited or stifled or oppressed or misunderstood. I think that the response has been very overwhelming on all these topics. I think because they come from my heart, and that was for me maybe the biggest surprise, is all I was doing is just being true to myself. I was just being authentic, like this is who I am, this is what I have to share. I didn't expect for so many women that are so different than me on the outside to identify so much with me. I think that was like the major lesson for all of us, is that we're all the same at the end of the day. We all go through the exact same things. We feel the same things. We're afraid of the same things. So that was a really big one. And I think that it taught me that at the end of the day, your job is to just show up as you. And you showing up as you will impact the people that will resonate to you being you. But you can't be everything to everybody. And that's something that I've also had to let go of, because in a way, like, I'm very inclusive and I want to be able to help everyone. And then you just understand that you need to be you, and that will resonate with whoever needs to resonate with you. But it's not your job to be liked and understood by everybody.
What is the process that you go through to put content out there? Do you wake up one day and you're like, this is annoying me? Or do you see a story and you're like, oh, I want to go there, like almost like a reporter? Do you take notes? Do you just open your camera and I'm going to wing it and see what happens? Like, what is your process from ideation all the way to distribution?
So for the stories, yes, I will pop my camera. Oh, I have this thing I'm bothered by this, or I'm excited by this. I will just pop the camera and I will film for stories. But on the feed, I don't just pop my camera, because the content on the feed is more like, I don't want to say manicured or curated, but I have makeup on, my hair is nice, I'm wearing something just kind of nicer than my yoga outfits. So the stories are more of like the behind the scenes, like super raw. And on the feed, it's more of kind of the woman that works on herself inside and out. Because I think that this, again, the multifaceted woman, it's like you get to be strong and powerful and connected and empowered and inspired, and you get to love to have nice nails and nice accessories and nice clothes. That's kind of like that side of me on the feed. The stories are much more raw, and I've embarrassed myself countless times on my stories. My husband sometimes is like, did you post that on? I'm like, eh hayete. He's like he's like, oh my God, I can feel him like, woo, like really. So, but for me, it's like, this is it. This is what I'm about. So usually, again, I work in a very intuitive way. So my intuition will guide me. And the best, I want to say, work I do is when it comes out of my personal experience and my inspiration. And the hardest ones are when I'm in my head. Like, okay, what's a good thing to talk about this week? When I'm very tired, because sometimes it gets very tiresome. And sometimes things look easy, but it's not easy, to bare your soul every time and to talk about your personal life. And it takes a lot from you, and to make sure you look good while you're saying that, because people are waiting for both. They want deep content and they want to be inspired by the way you look as well. So it can take a toll on you pressure-wise sometimes, especially when I'm thinking of delivering something that's going to hit home for them and inspire them and bring something to their lives. I think the best content is when it's really just, it comes from my heart, it comes from my soul, it comes from the moment. I'm not judging it. I'm not thinking if it's going to do well or not. When I talked about not being enough, how I had struggled for years with not being enough, I was very taken aback by the response was overwhelming. And that's when I realized, again, people are very expressive in their response, and I'm very grateful for how wonderful the community is. But that specific content, it was crazy, because I think everybody feels like they're not enough. We all struggle with thinking that we need to be more, do more, get more to be worthy. Men messaging me, like it was a lot. I think that's kind of when I saw how we're all connected, and that feeling sometimes that we don't appreciate that we are enough.
Some of the moments that stay with me is, there's a couple of things I recall when I think about what stood out to me the most. I think once, you were having such a tiring day, you were makeupless, and you were like, this is me. makeupless. This is the truth. I was just like, good for you. Like, you know, this terrifies me. Like, I was terrified, like, at how vulnerable you were to just be like, this is me. But also, I think, one, you showed us like, this is I mean, you can't see what I'm doing, but you're just like, these are my love handles. Like, this is the truth. You know, that was really powerful for me. I was like, my God, this woman is so brave. Like, look at all the, you know, the parts of me that maybe, I don't want to say they're not perfect because, but you were comfortable. Yeah, you know, and the sexual harassment is by far the most thing that every time you post something about. I think recently you posted about the perverts of Lebanon. Oh my God. Like, I spent an hour on that platform, just like, and then seeing stories that you repost about sexual harassment. And I think because we're so, you know, we don't read this in the mainstream media. We don't read this in our local papers. We don't read about these police reports. It's so under the rug, right? So when I see it on your account and I see an abundance of it on your account, that also really shakes me because I'm like, like, I know it exists, but I didn't think it existed to that extent. So these are some of the moments where I felt personally moved, triggered, connected, you know what I mean? All of it, really, but specifically those moments where I just felt like, wow, what is going on in the world? And, you know, we need to start talking about these things.
Yes. And the stories I posted were only a fraction. I had to save all the other ones, a fraction of all these women from all over the Arab world. And it doesn't matter if you're veiled or not, if you're modest or not, all of them, same story. Sexual abuse across the board, and very often, more often than not, uncles, cousins, fathers, grandfathers, neighbors, the closest people to them, in an abundance that is beyond anything. And there's so much scarring and so much trauma and so much healing to be done on that. And that is a big focus for me, is to help women who survived sexual abuse, because it's something that can damage a person for life if not treated.
So how do you help them? So let's say someone is like, listen, I've been abused either when I was younger by my uncle, or I'm abused right now. What do you do? Like, you know, you are now at a position where you can, and I know it's not your responsibility, but you can make it better, or you can, because they're trusting you with it, right? So do you direct them to like a regulatory authority or a website? Do you say, let's get on a call? You know, what do you do to be there for them?
All of the above. I've been doing all of the above. So until I become a certified therapist, I don't take on clients with sexual abuse, cases, because it's not my position to do that. I will refer them to the right psychologists, counselors, therapists, organizations. Also, some women come with, digital harassment. A lot of cases like veiled girls who have men who have pictures of them without the veil, blackmailing them to post this and that. I try to find an authority in their city or their country where they can report digital bullying or digital harassment. Lots of women have also stories about where they thought they were in love, or they were in love, or they were having an online relationship or romance, and they shared pictures that were a little more revealing than usual. Also, they're being blackmailed. There's a lot of these stories, by the way. Men asking for money. If you do not wire me money within the next 2 hours, I am posting this picture on Facebook. I'm sending it to all your family. Women are harassed digitally online every day. So I've had to deal also with cases like that where I was having to, help a woman actually here in Bahrain report somebody who was blackmailing her, who had asked for money within 2 hours, or he was going to spread her photos. So there's a lot of these cases. So sometimes I'll tell them, let's hop on a Zoom call. There is recently a woman who's gone through sexual abuse in her past. And when she saw what you saw, the perverts of Lebanon, she reached out. We did a Zoom call. I gave her tips. I helped her, and then I'm going to refer her to a counselor. So there's many ways. Of course, I look forward to, the plan is that we're going to get to a point where we're going to be partnering with different NGOs and organizations so that this work can be so much easier, where women can access a database from our website and access all their information from the Baini Ubainik website. So that's down the line. There's the vision to have that.
Yeah, so you can help people at scale, because it's not sustainable to be there for every single person. But I can I came into this conversation not even thinking about that position that you're in, the volume of that you're attracting in terms of women who want to talk to you, they trust you, they want to, and they're asking you, help me, like do something, what should I do? And then you having maybe sometimes to drop everything to address a little girl or a young woman's, my God, like I can't even, do you sometimes feel like, what have I done? What have I done to myself, or do you feel like, no, this, I don't want to say it gives you energy, because I'm sure that also depletes you as well. Like that at the end of the day, you must be like, my God, after that Zoom call, you must be like, I'm done. I'm wiped.
What you're saying, no, you're very insightful. It fuels me. It energizes me. It keeps me on purpose. I feel so grateful to do the work that I do. And that's the reason why I also know I have to know when to step out and take a break, or it's all consuming. I got sick at one point. I really did get physically sick because of how much responsibility I was taking on from all these messages. We're getting pictures of women with blood coming out of their noses and their eyes because they were beaten by their husband, but they couldn't leave. Girls sending me pictures of, cutting their wrists with razors and that they wanted to commit suicide and that they needed my help. They felt that I was the only one who could help them. The responsibility made me literally sick. My body started shutting down, like literally my system started, my naturopath told me, you are getting sick. Like this is not, you can't do this anymore. Because I was taking on, like, I need to save them. I need to help them. And what if she dies? What if she commits suicide? What if this happens? What if he beats her again? What if she doesn't wake up from it? Like I started taking on all of that. So it is, and it's also on my one-on-ones. It's much easier on my one-on-ones with, clients, because I give them everything I have and then I can step away. But with the platform, it's a big volume all at once, and it's me sharing, being very raw and vulnerable, and them too. But I think that I've found, a good balance for now. And as we expand, and then I have an infrastructure to help on a bigger scale, it will become more efficient. But right now, I really care, and I really do care. And each woman that reaches out, I really try as much as possible to help her and give her some kind of relief or support or tool.
So before I wrap up right now, there's just two things. One is you as a mom today, when we become mothers, everything, like you said, kind of goes out of whack. All of a sudden, time that we used to have for ourselves, time that we used to have to be social or to connect with other people, like we're limited because now we have to, in your case, you have to homeschool, you have to pick, there's play dates, you have to like get on the phone with mom, like the hospital, whatever, doctor appointment. How do you balance your time today? I know that you said you put your focus on your work and growth, learning, etc., and your family. But do you feel, I have 5 hours of productivity? Do you set time aside to spend time with them? How do you, when you're with them, do you put your phone down? Like, what are the things that you do to connect with your kids as well while you are, because I think once you are living your purpose, it's amazing. Like you would want to do this 12 hours a day, right? But then you have to pull yourself out and be a mom. So what do you do to be present with your kids?
That's such an important question, because for a while, I think I even had resentment towards being a mom and towards my kids, because I felt like you're taking away my time from me being productive and having a career. How am I going to ever advance in my career if you guys are constantly nagging at me and like pulling me and crying and not letting me go to my office and all of that? So I struggled for years. I had an internal battle because I adore my children like any mom, and I am a very good mom. So it's not like I'm very good at it. But at the same time, I had a lot of resentment of you guys are the reason why my career can't flourish the way it's supposed to. So no, but it's true. And I say it very honestly. I think it's important. Somebody has to say it, for God's sake. So I struggled for years with this whole thing. And sometimes I think I would also use work to run away from my kids. You know what I mean? Just like sometimes you use your kids to run away from work. Like you start using these different conflicting sides of your life as a woman to try to find some kind of balance, because you feel like you're losing it and you're not doing it right. Now I think I'm a little bit more settled. My daughter's almost 10, like, bravo, finally. She's almost 10. She's going to be 10 in a few months. I think, first of all, kids are our greatest teachers, and our children are our greatest teachers, and they're there to mirror what we still need to work on. Okay. So when I started understanding that the kids telling me, we hate your work. My son will sometimes say, I hope Instagram crashes so you never have to work again. Oh yeah. And he'll say things like, please don't travel ever again. Or like he'll say things like, Mom, I'm the only kid in my class who has a mom who's an actress. And like, I want to answer like, I know, isn't it special? And he says, it's not fair. Like, he sees it as a burden. Like, my mom is an actress. Like, it's not fair. You have to travel to shoot movies. I thought he was going to be proud, you know? Like, so your children will show you a different perspective of you, a different side, or something that you need to work on. Like your ego, for instance. So for me right now, it's much more settled. Of course, my husband is here and the kids are going to school every day. So life is much more organized. While they're at school, I will do my personal development stuff. So it's, you know, my meditation, my breath work, meditation, prayer, my yoga or exercise. And then I will work tops 2 hours, like 11 to 1. Then they come back home, we have lunch. We'll do lunch together and spend a little time. And then I have to hop on my one-on-one sessions, you know, in the afternoon. And then I'll wrap up work. I like to finish by 6 p.m. because the kids go to bed at 8:30. So I like to finish at 6 p.m. so that we can be quietly sitting together and we can have dinner and I can put them to bed and read them stories and I'll do sketches for them. And so I try to be away from my phone while I'm with them. I learned from my mistake of being with the kids and being on Instagram and all. It's awful and the kids really feel devalued. So I try to be away, not to mix them together. And I now log out from Instagram for the weekend. So Thursday evening or Friday morning. Oh yeah, I log out for 48 hours. Unless there's a change in my schedule, like there's something that I need to post or there's something happening with content. But now it's my thing. And I've learned that from actually Noof Hakim encouraged me. She's the one who encouraged me. She's like, Rana, you'll go crazy if you don't log out for 48 hours. I'm like, you think so? What if I just do 24 hours? She's like, I do 48. You think about it. And then I'm like, you know what? I started doing it and it really changed my life. So no social media on weekends.
My son, now he's 11 months, but even 2 months ago, I would always be on my phone. So he started doing, at like 7 months, he started doing this like to get my attention. So he can't even talk, but he was trying to say, look at me. So I'd put my phone down and smile, and then he'd smile. Obviously, they're obsessed with our phones, but the minute he sees it at like 3-4 months, he would just be holding on to it like obsessively. And anytime I'm like video calling someone for work, so he'd want to like take a look. So like it's crazy to think how he's also reacting to this gadget. It's very hard for me to switch off. Like I'm in the playpen in like his little chair, like answering WhatsApps and scrolling. And I just feel really bad. So something I need to work on for sure is just being present.
But Wafa, one way of doing it that is easy is just to set a time. So you say for the next half hour, it doesn't even have to be a long chunk. So there's 2 ways to do it. There was another way I was doing also with my team, like to tell them to give them like from this hour to this hour, I'm not available because I'm with my family. So that also works where you say, let's say you give them days like Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, let's say from, 12 to 2 or 12 to 1, that 1 hour, but it's written and it's etched in stone that during that hour, those 3 days a week, you're not available. Or every day, let's say for his bath time or whatever, if they know that from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., you're not answering calls, you're not answering WhatsApp unless it's an emergency. So I think that we also have to ask for it. And mothers, because I think what happens is when we become moms, we're ashamed of losing our boss status, right? Because before we were moms, we were like boss, where you feel like it was all about work and you were always available for work. And then it's almost you're ashamed that you're no longer at that rate or at that scale of productivity. But we have to own it because we're mothers now and to say, I'm unavailable, I'm with my family from this time to this time and you don't answer your phone. And I know like past 9 p.m., I don't answer my phone anymore. I don't check my WhatsApps anymore. I don't work anymore. I do not work because I need to go to bed because I have to wake up at 6 a.m. I have to be in bed at night between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. I have to be asleep. It's horribly early. It's so hard to fall asleep at 9 p.m. I can't fall asleep before 10 p.m. But I got myself, this is something that I'm working on because that's the only way I can wake up at 6 and take them to school. I wake them up. I'm the one who gets them dressed and gets them ready, Like, I'm the one who does it and I want to be with them in the morning and take them to school. If I don't have my 8 to 9 hours of sleep, let's just say 8 hours because it's not happening 9 during the week, only on weekends, but I need my 8 hours or else I can't be efficient. I can't be present as a mom. I can't be present at my work. Like if you want to be in your full potential, you need rest and sleep is so underrated.
I agree. I need 8 hours and I feel so jealous of the people who can get their 8 in 5 because that means they have 3 more that they can do, their inner work stuff that will take parts of our day. I do want to say before we wrap up, you are the true epitome of somebody who, nothing goes to waste. Like I feel like your earlier career really sets you up to be this incredible broadcaster for supporting, helping women. You're very animated. You're very theatrical. Your voice levels go up and down. Like I'm just so engaged with you. And I almost had to take a back seat because your energy force is so strong and positive. So I thank you for giving me your time. That's it for this week. Thank you for listening to an episode of the Women Power Podcast. And thank you for downloading and streaming our podcast every week. If you love what you've heard, tag us on Instagram and follow the Women Power Podcast and Women Power Summit account for more information on our next episode. Please leave a rating review wherever you get your podcast. It really helps other women discover the show. That's it from me. See you next week.